Hello, BTS friends, how are you today? Home property prices face foreign inspectors' glance. Army shocked. Jungkook BTS's hidden luxury fact revealed. Nobody's ready for this news. Even the most loyal fans, the most observant, the most diligent in archiving every second of their idol's life were made silent, transfixed, and incredulous. At a time when the world is busy discussing comebacks, contracts, even baseless rumors, one news suddenly sneaks slowly into the sidelines of ARMY's hopes. Jungkook's house, which has been wrapped in mystery, is now in the international spotlight, not by the media, not by envious neighbors, but by foreign property inspectors. Yeah, you didn't read it wrong. Not local, not national. The foreign inspector. And who do they value? Face down, a term that even in the Korean property world is rarely heard. An ancient term that is now awakening global interest. That it all started with a mysterious report. The 42-page document, which somehow appeared on one of Europe's elite property forums, featured one name that set cyberspace on fire: Jungkook. Among the list of mansions in Seoul's most expensive neighborhoods, one property was marked architectural anomaly, with value fluctuations that defy urban models. Freely translated, it means an architectural anomaly with property values that go beyond urban logic. And then there was a note in red ink that said it was written directly by a foreign inspector. This estate hides something deeper than luxury. It commands reverence. The house was face down. What does all this mean? Why is it that the house of an idol who rarely even shows off his lifestyle can be the subject of international property research? Why is it that only the house is called face down when the property of other Korean artists, from chaebol circles to top actors to senior politicians, is only referred to as ordinary upper-class property? This question not only confused ARMY, but provoked a broader sense of curiosity than just fandom. This is not just a luxury home. This is a house that makes foreign inspectors who are used to assessing old castles in Italy or million-dollar villas in Switzerland have to stop and say, this house is different. And that was the starting point of a storm that shook public perceptions of who Jungkook really was. Many suspect this is just a marketing strategy. But the question is, marketing for what? Jungkook is not releasing a solo album. It's not even being heavily featured in the media. She disappears more, retreating slowly from the spotlight, only occasionally appearing through short live or poorly captioned Instagram posts. But precisely when he did nothing, the property he owned shocked the world. Isn't that suspicious enough? Doesn't it just give the impression that something is deliberately hidden? From various reports, it is known that the so-called face-down house is in the most exclusive area in Seoul, with direct views of the Han River and special access to a secret passage that is not even listed on the map. But more than that, the inspector's report indicated that the house has a layered architecture that he said is not just for residential functions. Subtle language that implies the existence of hidden spaces. A space that is not just a storeroom or bunker, but a space that has a ritualistic function. Yes, this is where this story starts to sound even crazier. But does crazy mean not true? Many say this is just overanalysis. However, when one of the inspectors who took part in researching the house turned out to have also been assigned to inspect property belonging to the British royal family, then we can no longer consider this a trivial matter. Jungkook's house is said to have sound-absorbing capabilities, natural resonance with environmental vibrations, and structural magnetic structuring, terms that are not even prevalent in the ordinary property world. And in ancient Korean culture, the term face down meant not just a house to live in, but the house that envelopes, not just the body, but the soul. ARMY, who initially only wanted to know the interior style of his idol's house, was suddenly bombarded with mystical and technical information that made his head spin. But what makes it even more disturbing? Reportedly, Jungkook didn't buy the house for himself. An inside source mentioned that from the beginning, the house was prepared as a gift of life protection for his immediate family. Old man, but why should the gift be this complicated? Are they in danger? Are there past traumas that you want to cover up or protect? Or, furthermore, does Jungkook realize that his success doesn't come for free? Theories also emerge. Some associate this house with the principles of Korean geomancy called pungsyuri, in which the energy flows of the earth determine the fate of its inhabitants. In ancient cultures, a child who deeply loved his parents would build a house face down as a form of spiritual protection. But if that's true, why would Jungkook, who grew up in modern times, be able to connect with such deep trust? Is there a spiritual teacher behind this? Is he on a personal mission that he doesn't want to make public? To make matters worse, the foreign inspector, whose name has been withheld, gave a leaked statement emailed to a European media outlet, calling Jungkook's house the only property in Asia whose value cannot be estimated by conventional economic models. Even as the prices of other properties rise and fall, this house still rises. And up, and up. It resists the market. It exists on its own frequency. They say, does this mean that Jungkook's house is not subject to ordinary economic laws? Is it because of the location, the design, or non-physical influences? In the midst of the confusion, the army was divided. Some feel that this is proof that Jungkook is indeed not just an ordinary idol, that it has another dimension unknown to the public. But some feel this goes too far, that we should respect his privacy. But for sure, no one denies, this house is unusual. And Jungkook's choice to keep it away from the public, never flaunt it, never invite the media to cover, only reinforces speculation. He did want the house to go unnoticed. But now, the world knows. Does this mean Jungkook is in danger? Is the house the last refuge? Or is he planning something bigger? Many questions arise, including why now many foreign diplomats and South Korean businessmen began to wonder about the possibility of buying their own version of the house face down? Is this a new trend? Or is it just evidence that we are entering a new era where spiritual and emotional values are much more decisive than just material values? The Korean media began to move. Some stations even reportedly tried to bribe real estate officials to get plans for Jungkook's house. But all failed. Not a single blueprint, map, or official document was leaked. Everything seems to be protected. And this is what makes many believe that the house is not just a house, but the fortress, the last bastion of an idol who wants to protect something far more important than popularity, his family. However, will the world allow the secret to remain hidden? The army was shocked not only because Jungkook's house was called face down, but because for the first time they saw the very deep layers of a Jungkook. Idols who have been known to be calm, mysterious, and often avoid the spotlight in their personal lives, apparently have tremendous emotional and spiritual strength. He didn't just build a house, he built a shield. He not only designed the dwelling, but created the shelter of the soul. He did not just buy property, but created something that even a foreign inspector could not logically describe. Is it possible that we have been focusing too much on what is seen on camera